We'll move on now. In the last video, we talked about Motor Yacht Bold heading through dangerous waters, and we asked the question, does looking like a military vessel help or hinder passage in a dangerous area or a war zone? Well, staying on that theme of yachts looking like warships, if you think that Bold and Scat has the look, wait until you see this latest concept from Fincantieri Yachts in Italy. You know, with Motor Yacht Bold and Scat, there could be some debate as to whether or not you think they look like military vessels. I think they do. Some people might say they don't really. But this yacht is an 80-meter or 262-foot concept. There's no mistaking the resemblance to a military vessel here. In fact, although they predominantly build cruise ships now, Fincantieri actually started out, some of the very first vessels they built in the 60s were naval vessels, and they still build them now to this day. Here's a picture of a destroyer that they built for the Italian Navy in 2013. Very similar look. And that's in fact how they're marketing this concept, as you can see in their promotional video here, comparing it to one of their naval vessels in the video itself, switching between an actual vessel and the concept. And the tagline of this is the energy of our DNA. So anyway, let us know in the comments, would you want to sail through the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden in a yacht that looks this much like a military vessel? I don't know whether I would. It might stave off, you know, some pirates in a skiff, but if you're getting into any armed conflict zones, then you might be in trouble. Now, staying with armed guards on board Bold, a question that came up in the comments from the last news video was, how can these super yachts carry weapons, as it's generally not permitted to carry them on private or merchant vessels in most countries. The laws in most countries are so strict that it wouldn't be practical to be able to move around with these weapons. Well, in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, there's been a lot of piracy over the last 10 years, which persists even now, although it's not as bad as it once was. But pretty much all merchant and private vessels that travel through that area now use armed guards to safeguard their passage. So how does this happen? Well, an example of this would be arms being loaded in Egypt on the northern side of the canal in Port Said, which the laws permit it there as long as you have permission to do so. And the vessel would then transit through Suez and enter into the Red Sea and pass through the Gulf of Aden. Now, I've made this trip myself, and this is exactly how we did it. Now, if for some reason they don't get permission in Egypt, which is unlikely, but if they don't, then they can load the weapons on in the Red Sea once they've transited Suez Canal. Now, because the reason why they can do that is because they're in international waters, and there is no laws to prevent people carrying weapons in international waters. It's getting them there. That's the problem, right? Getting them through a country and into international waters, that's the problem. But as long as you keep your vessel in international waters, there's no issue. So once the ship passes through the dangerous areas, the weapons will be offloaded into smaller boats, again in international waters, and these boats are controlled by the private security companies, and they're all staffed by ex-military personnel. So there's no requirement to go through the customs or government scrutiny because they exist purely in international waters. Now, this is done using private security companies who use ex-military personnel from, Australia, New Zealand, UK, US, etc., etc. Thanks very much for watching this video. You've been watching a Super Yacht News clip. If you'd like to see the full unedited Super Yacht News video, you can click on the link over here. You can also find our channel links below here. And if you'd like to see more shorter videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to this channel.